All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Close. I am 30 years old and married. I got my bachelor's in history from Sacramento State. During this time, I started working in the Elk Grove Unified School District outside of Sacramento, where I grew up. And I started doing paraeducating, and I did that for 3 years with moderate to severe in a full inclusion setting. Um, at at this time, I had not really decided that I wanted to become a teacher or get into education at all. It was just a job, and then I had started having this idea of being a history teacher in high school. I decided against that because after 3 years working in elementary school, I really did fall in love with working with the younger kids rather than teenagers. If I were to go work at a high school now, I don't think I would fare so well. It would be hard for me to deal with those older kids. I'm just not privy to it as much as I thought I would be. After I graduated and got my bachelor's, I started substituting, and I've been doing it primarily at two schools in the area, one of which I also was able to do my student teaching at, which is Mary Tsukamoto Elementary School. And great school, been subbing there for 4 years. I've done a couple of long-term stints for teachers going out on surgery, and they've all been really successful. So my research topic is English language learners with disabilities. Now, I wanted to research this because I've noticed and I've talked with numerous IEP counselors and learning center personnel that sometimes these English language learners are misidentified as having learning disabilities when they don't actually have one, or being identified as not having a learning disability when in fact they do have a learning disability. So sometimes these problems arise due to testing that does not represent all ELL students, and it is easier just to lump a majority of them in with special ed. It just makes it easier, and it's unfortunate, really. So my research questions were, how can we properly identify more English language learners with learning disabilities? And then the sub-question is, how can we properly advocate and support these students to ensure a proper education is provided by our educators? And that sub-question falls in line with interventions and trainings and exercises and things that teachers can do, and collaboration that they can be a part of to ensure proper support for these students. How do these questions align with the data collection? So the data collection approach is a survey that is given to IEP counselors, special ed teachers, any personnel that works with these ELL students. And the survey questions are, how many English language learners are currently in attendance at the schools that I provide? So there's many, I think I have 10 schools that I'm using. And so how many are in attendance at each school? And then how many of these English language learners have been identified as having a learning disability? So of the students who are having a learning disability in conjunction with being an English language learner, how are they accurately tested for their learning disability? This is a little bit more in-depth question. It's not a yes or no. They can elaborate or not, because after each, when I collect these, I want to be able to sit down and actually interview each one of these teachers if time permits or when they can, to get their insights on whether or not they feel that these tests and these students are being accurately represented. So these questions were designed to find out how many students among these schools are English language learners with disabilities, and if they are accurately tested or not. The survey was designed to be simple and straightforward so that data collection would be seamless. So how am I going to find the answers? The survey will help me answer my research questions by giving me an accurate sample size of the number of ELL students with disabilities, and then I will also be given information regarding how accurate the testing is for these students. These surveys will be given out, and then after being filled out, I will have a short interview with each educator. So my resources and critical friend experience. My resources were all from research done with the National University Library, about 20 different references from peer-reviewed journals from the last 5 years. I also used the textbook that was assigned in ITL 662. My experience with my critical friend was outstanding. We worked well together and we had strong, meaningful feedback. And then when there wasn't much feedback to be given, we were very supportive of each other. I will also say that we were very flexible. I know I had a few times that came up where something happened and we didn't even get to review each other's papers until like the Saturday or even the Sunday one week. Just because there was issues that came up in one of our lives, and it was wonderful that there wasn't any extra stress added by either one of us when things like that did come up. So the question of time traveling for me, a lot of it has to do with time management. I tend to get started early in the week on my work, and then think that I'm good to go. And then the weekend rolls around and I'm like, oh, I'm not finished. Oh, geez. And I rush to get it done on a Saturday or early on a Sunday, and going back in time to tell myself to really get it done earlier and not have to worry about it is a big thing, especially if you get it done earlier, at least get close to finishing. You can go back to it during the week and make sure everything is up to the standards expected and the rubric. Also, another thing is that my direction of my research. At first, I was clueless, honestly. I knew we had to research something for English language learning students. I didn't know what. And I chose the learning disabilities because, well, for one, I have a disabled brother. So that kind of made me think, oh, maybe this is a relevant topic. And then as I started researching, it became like very broad, so I had to tone it down into just ELLs with learning disabilities. And I really just one of the main focuses for me is to better advocate for them and make sure they are receiving the education they deserve. So after obtaining my master's degree, I want to apply for teaching jobs. Well, for when the pandemic is over. But I do want to be a classroom teacher, and I know you need to do it for at least a few years before you can even consider admin. But depending on how much I like it, I would like to look into admin and get that credential as well, so I can move up into administration. And if that doesn't pan out, that's completely fine, because I know teaching in your own classroom is a lot more than subbing, but as far as subbing goes, I'm very comfortable in the classroom, and I'm looking forward to becoming a full-time teacher. All right, thank you.